Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is our first time meeting. My name is Ezra. I'm a couples and portrait photographer currently based in Vancouver, British Columbia. Now in today's video, I'm sharing a little bit about Lightroom. I want to share my process for how I edit photos or a set of photos in Lightroom, and then also share 3 of my tricks in Lightroom that if you don't know or not doing already, they'll definitely help speed up your workflow. So if you're interested in looking at those and learning about that, then stay tuned for the rest of the video. Alright guys, so this is the photo that I'm going to be using for this video. It's a photo of my friend Tess Anderson. She's a singer based in Vancouver, and we were shooting at this studio loft for her album cover for her recent song that's going to be coming out soon. Anyways, so when I have the photos all imported into Lightroom, I usually go over to the developing function or the library function. Either of them work pretty well for me. I like to have them in develop so I can sort of throw on some of my presets to get an idea of the look that will work with the photos. So I'll have this view bar on the bottom here displaying all the photos, and I'll just use my arrow keys to switch through the photos in the bottom to sort of toggle through. And then the photos that I like are the ones that I want to keep. I will put a 1-star rating by just hitting the number 1 on my keypad. That gives it a 1-star rating, and after that I'll continue to further filter them. So I'll start with the 1 stars, go through again, and choose any other ones I want if I need to narrow down the selections. So the way I usually do this is I will have this open here. This is like the main image on the background here. I'll go down here, open a second window to have it zoomed in so I can make sure that the focus was on point, and then I will use this setup to go through all the photos that I import and select the ones that I want to use. Once I have the selections of the photos that I want to use, I'll start editing them. In this case here, we're looking at this one, and this is after it's been edited. So just to give you an idea of what the first version was, I'm going to go here. So all I'm doing here is hitting the backslash button just under the backspace, and I guess that would be a /. So I'm hitting the / here, and it's showing the before and after. So that's one of the functions that I use quite regularly when I'm using Lightroom. It just helps to speed up the process, and I don't have to right click or anything like that. So this is the edited version. This is the before version here. And then when it comes to editing here, usually what I like to do is work with the photos by first adjusting the tone curve here, and then I like to also use this box up here, which allows me to see the histogram and edit it, or I guess adjust it independently. And so I make sure I get the lighting and everything the way I want it first before I start diving into color grading it. One of the functions I will mention of the newer Lightroom upgrade that I really enjoy is being able to adjust the luminance on each of the individual selections here in the color grading. So like the mid-tone, shadows, highlights, I like being able to play with those and editing them independently. So you can see here I'm just adjusting the luminance in the shadows here. That's really fun. Also the Control Z or Control Z on a computer here lets me undo the change I just did, so I use that pretty regularly as well, and I'm doing that. That's what I just did here. And then the spot removal tool is another really handy tool that I've used. I don't normally go into Photoshop. I try to stay just on Lightroom here. It just speeds up my process and I'm more familiar with it. And so if there's any small things I need to change, whether it's like a little light switch or something like that, I trust on the spot removal tool. And most of the time, 90% of the time, it works well and is able to remove whatever I'm wanting to remove. So to give you an example of that here, I'm just going to zoom in on the skin here. I think I did an adjustment. So when softening her skin here, there was a little abnormality or a little bump here that I wanted to remove, and so as you can see here, that's this little circle here is where I selected, and this is where it was copying it from, just to copy this and put it over top and paste over the spot that I wanted to draw less attention to. So it's one of the tools that I definitely find handy when you're using Lightroom if you haven't discovered that yet. It's super helpful. Okay. And so I'm just going to go over some of my main tips or my main functions I like to use in Lightroom that has definitely helped speed up my process, and so hopefully that helps you as well. The first one, like I said, would probably be the spot removal tool. Very handy if you haven't used it before. Definitely experiment with it. It gives you an option as well if you let's do one selection here. Whoops. You can use your I guess it's to your scroll button on your mouse to increase or decrease the size of it. So this is after I clicked on the spot removal. I can zoom in or zoom out the size of the selection tool. You can also change the opacity and feathering of it as well. Select the area that you want to copy it from. So once you click it, it automatically will choose the area that thinks matches the area that you have been editing. And so you have the option to take the sample area and move it like I'm doing here if you need to manually adjust to what you want it to copy instead. So if you're lining up lines, for example, this is super helpful. If you want to line up the lines so it all looks perfect. So that would be an example of that. Just going to enter, which will save it. Then I'm going to hit Control Z, which is another function I use quite regularly, and that is just undoing the changes you've done. Okay, another function that I like to use a lot when I'm editing, and I'm a perfectionist, so when I'm editing it's pretty tedious most of the time. I like to be able to see the before and after and adjust different things. So here are some of the hotkeys that I like to use. If you hit the letter Y, like Yankee, on your keyboard, it'll show you a side-by-side view of the photo. So it'll show you the original photo on the left, and then it'll show you the edited one on the right. And if you continue to hit the L after that, so L like Lima on your keyboard, that sort of darkens everything around the two photos that you're comparing. You hit it again and it goes completely black around the two photos. So I use this pretty regularly when I'm trying to get an idea of the two different versions of the photo and see what changes I've done. Hit it again on the third time and it will bring you back to the regular look here. To get out of this side-by-side Y function here, you can just hit D like Delta for develop and bring you back to your regular screen there. Another one that I often will use in addition to this is, scroll down, see if I can show you, it's right here. I really like to use the radical filter. This gives you an option of creating sort of a vignette the way you want it to, and it gives you control over that. So for an example here, if I click on the vignette, or sorry, the radical filter one, it lets you choose what effect you're doing. So for this one, that's my soft skin function, so you can preset all of this and save it, and then you just click and drag the area that you want, and it's going to be everything outside of it by default. You can invert it by hitting the invert button here, obviously, but everything on the outside that's going to be affected. And then you can also choose the feathering for if you want it to be pretty harsh and bring the feathering down, or if you want it to really blend together, you can bring the feathering up. And then in addition to that, if you hit O like Oscar on your keyboard, it'll in red show you what's being affected. So that's a nice way for me to be able to draw attention to my subject. What I'll do is in the radical filter and in the area that's being edited, I'll just bring the sharpness and the texture clarity down a little bit and make it either darker or brighter for the brightness to be able to draw attention to the subject. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Just not delete that. So those are some of my favorite features in Lightroom here. I hope that these are something that you like to use as well. And if you haven't, hopefully you learned something as well. If you have some favorite keys or features that you like in Lightroom, feel free to leave it in the comments below and share the love and share the tips. And I'm sure everyone would be able to appreciate that as well. If you're not already following me on Instagram, you can do so at Sidebyside Photography to keep up with me on a daily basis. And if you have any further questions, you can send me a message there or leave a comment in the description below, and I'll be happy to reply to you there as well. So if you have any further questions, let me know, and in the meantime, make new friends and shoot them. Bye-bye.